Hey guys, Miss Gregory here doing the advanced section, lesson 2.6 in the textbook. You see the picture of the textbook in the bottom right corner. Textbook pages 151 to 154. This is finding the percent of a number, but it's for a specific type of percent. It's for sales tax, finding tip, and finding markup. Alright, don't forget you are taking notes. You need notebook paper, pencil, pen. You need your book, and assume that everything I teach will be on the exam. This is lesson 2 out of 3 before you have your test. And stay tuned for the end. We've got bonus material in the form of, I'm working some of the homework problems step by step for you, and you can check your answers. Alright, you should remember to label your paper. Lesson 2.6, textbook page 151, and don't forget today's date, and the icon of the little pencil here tells you to take notes. Alright, we did this lesson together today in class as a warm-up, so I am really just kind of going through this quickly, just in case there's anyone who is absent or if you need to look back through the video. The vocabulary that I pointed to with the red arrow is important that you understand. We did go over this, so I'm just going to quickly mark through the answers. Okay, so the real world link, you had Alonzo who is buying a kayak at a cost of $2,100, and he has to pay sales tax of 7%, and we discussed in class that the answer would be $147 of sales tax that you would have to pay. So then in the next step, you're supposed to go over to the side and fill in the receipt. So that would be $2,100 plus $147. So when you add that up, you get a total of $2,247 as the total cost of the kayak plus the sales tax. Now, we did a lot of examples in class of the second way, looking at step number 3. If you take your calculator and put 1.07, meaning 1 is 100% the cost of the kayak, plus the 7% sales tax, changing the percent, 107% to a decimal would be 1.07, then you're multiplying that with your calculator by 2,100. You would get the same total. The advantage is you get to it in one step because you can easily transform the percent to a decimal. So yes, you should get the same answer as what we worked off to the side. And for number 4, Alonzo on the kayak trip, he is hiring a guide for $50 and wants to give him a 10% tip. So what you would do is change the 10% to a decimal, 0.1 times $50, and you should get a $5 tip. Or you can use that whole 10% rule thing, 10% rule, meaning drop the 0 and you are still back at the $5. Okay, again, we did this in class, but it is important to know what the sales tax is. And if they are asking you for the total cost, you can go straight to method 2, but you have to pay attention if they are asking you for how much sales tax was paid. You're going to have to use method 1 to state how much sales tax was paid. Again, it shows you step by step how to do this, and then you can decide which one you like better. Most of you guys in class tended to prefer example or method 2 because it's quicker. All right, the got it, again, if you were in class, we went over this, so I will quickly go over the answers here. We're talking about lesson 2.6. We're on page 152, and this is the got it, part A. What's the total cost of a sweatshirt if the regular price is $42 and the sales tax is 5.5%? So what you have to make sure you do is change the percent to a decimal, which means you move to the left 2 times. So your percent, don't be oops, sorry. I forgot they wrote this as a fraction, not as a decimal. Your percent is written as 5.5%. Don't let the fraction fool you. That's just 5.5. Now you're going to take and change the decimal. You're going to move it over 2 places to the right, so you would need to fill in this empty space with a 0. So what you would actually plug into your calculator would be 1.055, if you like the method 2, times the cost of the sweatshirt, which was $42. And when you plug that into your calculator, you'll get the answer for the got it. Okay, plugged that in on my calculator real quick, and 1.055, which represents the tax, times $42 would result in an answer of total cost $44.31. Remember, on these guided practice, homework problems, test questions, all of these, you need to show me what you are typing into the calculator before you give me the final answer. Some of you are able to easily convert the percents to decimals, so you don't have to show me that, but show me what you did put into the calculator. Okay, now we're talking about tips and markups. Tips are easy. We've talked about tips for a restaurant, but tips can be for any type of service. It can be for manicure, pedicure, spa treatment, any type of service that you feel like you want to tip. And then what you're not as familiar with is the markup. The markup is, from a business's point of view, how much they increase the price that becomes the selling price, how much you pay. They mark up the price. You typically think you want to buy low and sell high so that the business can make a profit. So they buy goods at a lower cost. They mark it up by a certain percentage to sell it to you at a higher price. So just make sure you're familiar with that vocabulary. And then we have example 2. Again, we did this in class, so I'm not going to spend much time on method 1 or 2. It's the same ones we've already talked about. But you are paying a tip on a $35 bill at a restaurant. You can use method 2 and go straight to your answer. Pretty quick and easy. Now I want you to look at example 3. This adds another aspect. You're trying to find out if you have enough money to pay for the haircut and for the sales tax and for the tip. They want to know, in the end, is $25 enough money to cover all of that? Okay, they tell you you are going to tip 15%, and they tell you your tax rate, and they give you the total of the haircut. Okay, so when you are doing tip and you're doing tax, it's all a percent, so you can add the total percent. You can say 15% for the tip plus, I'm trying to look at the price, 4.75% is the sales tax. So add those up, as you can see, and you get 19.75%. Then you're going to do your pedal, and you're going to change your percent to a decimal by moving 2 places to the left. Don't let it confuse you with the decimal already in the percent. I know sometimes that freaks you guys out, but you still take that decimal where it is and move it 2 more places to the left. Add in zeros for any empty spaces. Okay, so with method 1, you would be figuring out how much extra is for the sales tax and for the tip. And as you can see, the $20 haircut plus the amount for tip and tax is a total of $23.95, which is less than $25. So you have enough money to cover the total cost. I just wanted to show you, if you were doing method 2, you could say 1.1975 times the $20 haircut, and if you plug that into your calculator, you should get the same answer, $23.95, and that's how many of you like to do this now, so I'm showing you that way as well. Also notice the mental math tip. We talked about this in class. There's the 10% rule, and it reminds you how to work that there. And now let's go through and check the answers to the guidance. Again, if you were in class, we've already gone over these answers. Both of these could be used with what I think is the easier method 2, because you're just trying to find the total cost. That's the way I'm going to show, but of course you could do method 1. But for B, I'm going to come over here and show my work. He wants to tip the taxi cab driver 20%, and the cab commute is $15, and so I'm going to multiply that on the calculator by 1.15, and I will get that answer. I'll pause in just a minute after I show the work for letter C, and I'll put both of those into the calculator and come back with the answers. Now for C, you're trying to find the total cost of a spa treatment, which is $42. And you need to include sales tax and a 20% tip. So that would be 20% plus 6%, which is a total of 26%. So I can simply multiply on the calculator 1.26 and go straight to that total cost. So let me pause, come back, and you can check the final answer. Alright guys, check it out. Answers for B and C. We've gone over this in class, so I'm going to move on. The next example 4 is an example finally of a markup. The store pays $56 for a GPS nav system. The markup is 25%. We need to find the selling price. You can think about this as they are going to mark the price up by 25% of $56. That will be the selling price to you. Okay, so 25%, changing that to a decimal, would be 0.25. You're finding 25% of $56 of, meaning to multiply. Put those into your calculator and you get 14. So they are marking up the price by $14. You would pay a total of 14 plus the 56 they paid. your selling price is going to be $70 for the GPS nav system. And if you look over to the left, I've got the purple arrow pointing to it, the markup in example 4. You could use the method 2 example. They showed you the steps for method number 1, but method number 2, all you would have to do is say 125% of the amount the store pays. And so you're talking about 1.25 times $56. If you were doing method number 2, you'd still get the same answer. You would just go straight to the answer on the calculator of $70. Nice and easy. Okay, it's your turn to try the Got It. And it's very similar, and we've gone over the answer in class, but anyone who is absent, pause, get your answer, and come back. All right, if you will look here, I showed my work. $150 is the price of the portable basketball backboard that the store is paying for. The markup is going to be 40% of that price. We can use method 2 and put into the calculator 150 times 1.4 and get 210. So the selling price to you, the customer, would be $210. All right, now you are on the guided practice page, and I did mention in class, look at the directions. It says find the total cost to the nearest cent. You're not rounding to the nearest dollar. You're not rounding to the nearest tenth. You're rounding to the nearest hundredth because you're rounding to the nearest cent or penny, which means you are rounding to the second decimal place. So the third decimal place is going to be the number to tell you whether you round up a penny or you round down a penny. So make sure on your calculator you are rounding correctly. Okay, you should be able to use either method 1 or method 2 to solve and get the answers, whichever one you prefer. But you must show me. You have to write the problems. You're doing numbers 1 through 5. You have to write what numbers you are typing into the calculator, and probably would be best for you to show me the actual answer that pops up on your calculator screen. And then in the final answer blank, please list the price of the total cost rounded to the nearest cent. Okay, you are doing numbers 1 through 5, and you need to show your work by telling me what goes into the calculator, and of course don't forget to rate yourself. Pause the video and do the guided practice. And you can either continue watching now the bonus material where I go over some homework problems, or you can stop the video and come back another night when you are assigned some of these homework problems. All right, thanks. All right, you've stayed or you've come back for the bonus footage. This question 22 and 23 is on page 157 in your book. This is still lesson 2.6, finding percent of a number for sales tax, tips, and markups. So, hopefully you have tried the questions on your own, and now you are coming back to check your answers and see the steps. If you have not worked problem 22 or 23, pause now, work the problem, come back and check your work. Alright, so looking at question 22, put a box around some of the important information. Being charged $70 for the job plus 5% for supplies for their cleaning service. The homeowner gave them a 15% tip. Did they receive more than $82 for their job? And then you must explain. All right, so I showed my work starting on the left. $70 is the fee times 1.05 for the supply. So that would be a $73.50 charge for the cleaning service. Then that multiplied by 1.15 for the tip gives you a total of $84, and then you can see how it went out 3 decimal places depending on what place value you're rounding to. You can decide the money. Now, what I did, because I only needed the whole number, I went ahead and rounded $84. Technically, it would be rounded up to $85. Either way, when you look at it, that amount, $84 or $85, is still greater than $82, even if you kept it at $84.53, if you rounded it to the nearest penny. It's still going to be greater than $82. So yes, they received more than 82, and my explanation is given. Now I'm going to work the find the error problem. So if you haven't worked 23, pause the video, come back. Alright, question 23, finding the error. The important stuff is boxed in purple. You needed to find the mistake, which I pointed out in red. He used method 1, and instead of adding the price to find the mark up, he subtracted the price. It's not a discount where you would subtract, it's a mark up, and you are increasing the price. Might have been easier for him to just use method 2 and multiply $40 times 1.4, meaning 100% of the cost plus 40% for the markup. You put that into the calculator, you're done in one step, and the price, the selling price, would be $56. So sometimes doing method 2 causes you to not make the mistakes that Jamar made. Alright, this question I'm not going to work on the video, but you can see that numbers 16 and 17 have been worked out for you step by step. And if you are having trouble with any of the problems 18 through 21, we'll go over those in class. And see you later. That's all, folks. Good night.